Hi there, welcome to a balloon twisting tutorial, which I know you've been looking forward to because I have had it requested a couple of times and I've been meaning to do it forever. Today's the day. So right here behind me, here's a sneak peek at what we are about to create based on a certain princess. That's right, it is Cinderella. So I've made this kind of design a few times before, but now I am going to talk you through step by step just how to create this cutie. I actually have a video link that I'll share with you here, which is me creating a number of princesses. The format isn't a live stream, but I hope that you might get some great information and tips out of that as well. So with this video, I'm actually going to show two different sizes. My friend here that you see has been made with 5-inch round balloons, and I am going to share my Legenda settings with you right at the end of this video, so make sure you keep watching. Today's video is going to focus on making a balloon princess this size. So where the other design has used 5-inch rounds, this one features 12-inch quick links. Didn't see that coming, did you? I've got to use up all those bags of quick links somehow. Remember this video? This is where they come from. So yeah, like I said, at the end of the video, you will find out what are my settings for not only our round balloon princess here, but the 12-inch quick link. I look forward to sharing that with you at the end. Before we get going, I'm going to ask you to give this video a big like, and then let's get into it. So I'm going to need a couple of quick link balloons. I have here the 12-inch in the pink and the 12-inch in the blush. So with this, I'm going to use 10 of these quick links and 1 of the blush. Each of these are going to be inflated to 3.0 with the Legenda. This next bit can get a little bit fiddly, but I am going to basically twist these around each other to bring them in nice and close. What you'll see is me pulling them away from each other, then twisting them in opposite directions. That's a bit rude. So again, we're going to pull these two apart and twist them in opposite directions. The struggle is real right now. There is a bit of separation between the 4 different balloons, which you can be able to see here. I am going to twist this in the center, just to bring a bit of unity to the those 4 balloons. And you'll notice they no longer quite have a round shape to them. Almost like a kidney shape in a sense, and I want each of those kidney shapes to be pointing upright. Oh. Now you might be thinking, why am I using pink for this princess? Well, don't you know that she has both a pink and a blue dress that she wears? To be real, I am only going to be recreating one of the dresses, but you can pretty much use any combinations of colour to come up with any princess of your choice. And we're going to work on our next row. So while this was 3, the next is going to be 1.5. And we're going to do the exact same that we did with the last. Now we're actually just going to use 2. These are also inflated to 1.5. So I'm going to do it a bit differently this time, and I'm going to just attempt to get bubble divided into two on both sides before tying together. Before you twist that bubble off fully, you can manipulate the air to try and get it even between the two halves of the balloon. An important thing though is to remember to always still twist it in the same direction, otherwise you might experience this coming undone. Now I do feel like my clusters aren't perfectly the same size, so I might manipulate it before I take the next step. Undoing that twist a bit, trying to get the air a bit even. Where the two balloons have been twisted in half, I'm going to join them together. Basically pinch twisting these two bubbles to act quickly. When you're trying to twist these underinflated 12-inch rounds, they tend to want to come undone, so just try and work quickly and firmly with the balloons, and hopefully they'll end up something that looks a bit like this. So now we want to bring these three tiers all together, and we want them to be in as nice and closely and snug to each other as possible. So from my first cluster of 4, I am going to locate a nozzle. Stand up for this. Pull on it very firmly and bring it up and in between my middle rung. Just wrapped it around one of the balloons, and I'm still pulling it tight. Just grabbing that third tier. Hopefully you do end up with something that looks a little bit like this. At this stage, I'm pretty happy with how nice and close and together this is, but just keep in mind that with our quick link balloons, because they are not round and they have more of a kidney shape almost to them, very subtle one at that kidney to be upright. It's looking pretty good. Let's pop it to one side for the moment. Oh, not before we do. Let's have a quick comparison. Look at this. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Reaching into my bag of 350s, I have got the pink, and I'm going to inflate this to make the bodice. Just want to make sure I have a good amount to work here to create the bodice. So we're going to start with the bubble about as wide as it is long, and it's approximately 3 fingers here for me. And my next one's going to be about the size of my palm. And we're just going to repeat that. We do want to try and get the first and the third bubble to be as equal in size as possible. But our fourth bubble in the sequence is going to be a little bit smaller than the second. Now, if you are new to working with a chain of bubbles, if you're holding the first bubble and the last bubble, it's far less likely that those middle ones will come undone. Passing my nozzle through. I'm just going to pinch twist. Now I do want a little bit of this to be left over, so I'm just going to twist it off at a bit of a distance from here and remove the excess. What is mine? So you can tie that off to help be a bit of an insurance against any air leaking, but generally I find if that's nice and firm and tight that it should be okay. So in a moment, this top of the bodice needs to be joined to the dress. to do that, I'm just going to take the scrap of my 350 that's left, and I'm going to inflate the tip of it, or reverse inflate. Just stretching it out a bit will help encourage the air to go there quickly. Tie that off, and you could do this step a little bit differently and have this as a round filled with water, but you are going to want to have a little bit of an excess tail on it for this next part. Basically, we're going to nestle this 350 round part into the base of our balloon, nice and snug. You'll see there. Just bringing this up the center of the design all the way to the top. Taking the tail end of the 350, passing it through the center of the bodice. You may find this a bit fiddly, particularly if you've got the ends of the 350 also running through here. But please persevere until it's through. So we don't want to be losing track of this part, because that's where we're going to be attaching the head to our design. So taking the balloon that we're using for the head, here we've got the blush. Now, I did not time inflate that, but what I want it to be is just a little bit more than a round balloon, so it's starting to go a little bit more oblong or balloon in shape. But before I just tie this one off separately, I'm going to tie it straight onto my head. So pulling these together nice and firm, I'm going to knock them together. If you can try and have still a decent length on either side, just to help anchor that head in the middle, we are going to put one of the nozzles into one of the arm slits and the other into the opposite. Looking pretty good. Now, princesses may wear gloves or not, so here I'm just going to go with the no glove vibe and use a blush 160 for the arms. However, you could go ahead to use a 160 in the white or a pale blue or whatever color you might choose to complement your princess. We're going to take this and bring it nice and close to the middle of our pinch twist. See for a moment how snug that is in there. Pretty much we want it to be in the center. I like to be pretty conservative with the length of my arms. As you can see here, mine's just over the width of my palm. Show you from the side as well. And I just want to twist off a bubble that's going to be the same size. So I'm going to find it easier to determine the size before I twist it off. I'm just pinching it in and twist. Or bring it in nice and close, and in the pinch twist at the opposite side. Bring it around to secure. And I'm going to remove that excess because she's done. There's her arms. Oh, looking so good, Cindy. Let's give them a size comparison again. Oof, oof. Let's see how we're going. Good things do come in small packages, but bigger, I say, is always better. Let's get into the hair. So for the most part, the hair design is going to use 260s, but I'm also going to use a little bit of variance in size and have in there a 350 as well as a 160. To have a bit of a quick look at the hairstyle that I've created here, this is what we are going to replicate. with what we are doing now, feel free to pause at any spot, because this is what I'm going to be trying to recreate. So this design, again, mostly done with 260s. And even though this is a slightly smaller Cinderella, we are basically going to do the same to get a similar effect with our larger Cinderella. To recreate this design, you are going to need at least 3 260s. But at the end of the design, I'm going to confirm exactly how many I used, and 160, and I have my 350 here. This is a scrap. The original actually created, of course, that balloon. But yeah, what I really love about doing hairstyles is you don't always need to do it exactly the same way you've done something before to still get a beautiful result that resembles the character you're trying to replicate. But yeah, the hair's really important. But in saying that as well, whatever the journey is to get there, the end result can still be beautiful. Just going to be leaving about 1 inch or so uninflated every time I do this. 1 inch is 2.5 centimeters. I'll start off at the top with a pinch twist. If you feel safer in doing so, do 2 pinch twists. Typically you might need 1, but 2 can form an insurance policy, you know what I'm saying. Making approximately a 4-finger bubble followed by a pinch twist. And then I'm just determining how much more length of bubble I need to get that down into the neck area. Keeping this part of the balloon as nice and close to that blush as you can. And where you find it's going to meet in at the neck of the balloon, twist that. You don't want to replicate that. Bring as close as I can to what I did originally, and bring that into the pinch twist at the top. So for me, the remainder of that bubble is feeling quite firm, so I'm going to remove it now. And so far she's not much, but she is a start. Taking my next. Just gonna leave a bit more uninflated this time. You might notice I'm always letting a little bit of air out of the balloon, just expressing that air out as I would if I was making a balloon sword or a balloon dog. It's still important when you're working with a design like this. And here, I'm going to do something similar to what I did before, about the same length in bubble. These ones eventually are going to be further to each side, but this is going to be right in the middle of the back of the head, because this is where the bun's going to be. But we're going to do the same. I'm going to have a pinch twist in there. See how my balloon's curving here? I'm going to lean into that, making sure that that's part of the balloon that's attaching the blush effect. Now it can get a little bit crowded and very competitive in this area down here. So I'm not making sure that this balloon is the same length as these other ones here, but in fact it's going to be a little bit shorter. Just trying to compensate for all the activity that's happening here. Basically bringing that down the middle and bringing this around town. Till I'm back on this side. Oh, and I scratch and stitch right here. That step's not that important, but if you're feeling itchy, then it is. Now I am going to try and just get a nice straight length of bubble here and here. Working with a space that you can see starting to occur. So each of these balloons are going to be different lengths. Just trying to compensate for where in the design it's sitting. Bringing it around. And this is looking like a really good companion size to this middle bubble that we have here. Which I like a lot because that's where I want to bring this final part of the balloon into. Because it is slightly longer than the existing balloon, I'm just going to try and manipulate it to keep the air a bit further down in there, so gripping that nice and firm. Trying to make it the same, but if it's a bit different, that's okay too. And if yours was a little bit too long, just get the balloon up into there as best that you can, and you can remove the excess. Alternatively, if you didn't have enough length of balloon here to do what I've done, just leave it for now at the one balloon. You can either add more in later if you think the design needs it, or you can leave it as is. Now, your princess might be looking a little bit funky at this stage. But it's nothing a little bit of playing around with won't fix. Let's do the next part. For those of you keeping track, so far that is two 260s that have been used for the hair. I'm going to now take my 350. Don't inflate it that much. And this is going to go in you guessed it, the pinch, in the pinch twist at either side of the center. So here I'm bringing it nice and close to that pinch twist as possible. And where it's starting to meet this pinch twist over here, I want to pull it a little bit snug. I don't want it too loose. I'm going to twist it off. Twist it this way. Cord it across. Twist. Bring it in. I'm going to get rid of this excess now. Just make sure that's going nowhere and hiding our ugly head. I'm going to take now my 160, and like I said, we only have used two 260s so far in the hair, but don't forget, there's a big bum we have not done, so we're going to at least need one, if not two. Just want to have a nice long length for this one. This one is going to join in to the design here at the top in the pink twist. Getting that in nice and close. Now we're bringing this over the pinch twist at the front. And they're nice and snug behind. Bring this all the way around. And that's why we have the insurance policy. I did lose one of those pinch twists just now. So I do want this to be nice and firm before twisting it back in the pinch twist. And we can go ahead to get rid of that excess. And now we'll have something that looks like this. I'm going to use a 160. This one actually happens to be a metallic colour in the pink. So I've inflated that a decent amount, but I'm actually going to release a lot of air from that because I want to have a little bit of uninflated tail here. Whoop. So a nice and long bit here. The nozzle end is going to be passed between the 160 and the 260, and basically over this way and into the base of the neck. Got my hand in here on the other side of the back of the hair bubble. Just securing that in place. I don't want the headband to be too prominent and high up. So basically, the way I'm going to make it rest is to minimize its appearance as much as possible from the front, but that it's just subtly coming through until you get really close into the design and check out all the good bits. I want to make it to about a length where it matches the other side over here. Twist that off once I've identified the point I like, giving it a decent amount of tail that I just want to tie off here at the end. I like not to do my knots close to here because then it allows that air to spread out a little bit more, but you're very restricted if you tie it in close to the inflated part of the balloon. Bring it in on this side. See the back of the head there, we've got one pinch twist, and there's the other. And pass the length. Go to the back. And secure it in. Again, just a bit of subtle peeking through at the front. And you'll notice that it tends to try and be a bit visible here at the sides, but wait and see how we're going to take care of that. So at the moment, I don't have any just plain pink, but that's okay. These are earrings. We're going to make them a little bit more special. So these are a pearl pink. So I'm only inflating a little bit, but then I'm manipulating it and twisting off that air very carefully just to get a smaller shape. And for this one, yes, tie it nice and close to the bubble. And so you have a little bit of a tail left. Is she the same? They're close enough that I'm okay with that. Next, we're going to tie these two together nice and close as possible to the ends of the nozzles, like so. Basically, we want to have one of the earrings here and the other over there. So I'm just going to very carefully pass one bubble through to the other side. One over here and one over there. Now you could leave it as that, but the reason we're not going to is, see here? We want to try and take care of that. We want to hide where that hairband is starting to peek through and show on the other side. For this next part, you're going to have to eyeball it a bit, but I want to have my earring sit lower than when the headband goes. If you imagine, a headband actually sits behind an ear, doesn't it? So these are suggesting where the ears are sitting. So we really want to make it as even as possible on both sides, but it's going to be about three, nearly 4 fingers there. Even we've got our 160 and where the bubble meets, we're going to bring this around. So now that's sitting nice and snugly in place. And that's helping that 160 sit nice and close to the head. Now we want to try and do that as accurately as possible over on the opposite side. Just making sure in and around. pretty happy where it's sitting. Let's work on the rest of that hair. Taking my final 260, or it might not be the final, there still might be more. Maybe about how many fingers of an inflated balloon. Tie that off at the end. And this is going to join in at our pinch twist. Bring that knot in nice and slow. Now, if you have seen this video before, the Sailor Moon inspired fairy, that's pretty much how I'm going to recreate the buns. So let's get to it. The first bubble's about 3 fingers, followed by another. When I'm building up my buns, I like to make every layer that I'm doing have a twist in the middle, and that I find just helps the balloons to sit in place and not slip around. Twisting it up. And to make a fairly even bun, each time that I do one of these duplets, I am going to try and make them the same size. They're just going to twist off on opposite sides of the one below them. And as it starts to build up, you can use your hand as you grip here to pull the design away before twisting in a bit. If you find it's getting a bit competitive in here, don't twist the next one directly on top of the one here below. Take advantage of the space slightly next to it. You can offset it. You can see our bun is starting to build up quite nicely. When you get to the point where you don't have enough length to make it around that bun shape again, we're going to remove the excess, tie it off, and to help secure it, I'm just passing that knot in that pinch twist area. So at the moment, if you were to view it from the side, that is a very non-subtle bun. But from the front, we can't really see it. So I'm going to keep going a little bit further so we can build that up. What I really love as we start to build it up and we do offset elements to the design, it really starts to look a little bit more like hair. If you know what I mean, yeah? I'm going to add in my next balloon. It might even start to get to a point where it is not even, but just keep going, keep twisting. Keep making your beautiful bun. When I get to my final part of the bun that I want to do, instead of twisting it in the middle, make sure that it just sits nice and rounded over. I want to be pulling that in nice and firm and tight, leaving as little gappage as possible here in the back. Now that now that pinch twist from earlier, we position it behind our bun. That's going to help give it the height we need to see from it. If you've lost that pinch twist, with this remaining part of balloon, you need to make one final pinch twist. But I'm happy with what I've got there, so I'm just going to remove this excess. Now Now, that's pretty much it for the twisted design. That is how we make our beautiful princess. Let's look at the two side by side. Aren't they beautiful? So they've both been created in the same way. And I'm just going to pop on the screen those inflation times that you're going to need with your legenda. Let me know in the comments below if you want to know how many hand pumps it might take if you don't have a legenda and are using a normal pump. Then if you're going to want to do a face, I know just the tutorial for you. You're really going to want to check this out right away, and you can draw a beautiful face for your princess. Let me just do something really quickly for this one. I've always wanted to do that. Oh, that's amazing. So you know what to do. If you haven't done so already, make sure you like this video and why not subscribe, because I have plenty more great ideas coming at you. So thank you so much for joining me and helping me put a positive twist in your life, and I do look forward to seeing you in my next balloon tutorial. Bye.